Time to check out A Stan Kraychik Mystery, Book 5. Author, Grant Michaels. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York, 1996. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 24. I headed northward to the Fleming Lemming. I hoped the police had notified Laura by that time, so I wouldn't be bearing the message of her husband's cold-blooded murder. I was getting a little hungry, too, pedaling around in the gusty wind, so on the way I stopped at Natural Foods Market on the waterfront to pick up some snacks to share with Laura, widow to widow. In the market I ran into Cozy Dinette. When she saw me, she was surprised and even a little nervous. "Boston," she said. "I'm buying throat lozenges. This is the only place that sells the ones I like." She held up the tin, and I recognized the imported brand used by many opera singers. "You don't have to explain," I said. "No," she replied. "I don't, do I? What are you doing?" I told her I was going to see Laura Hope to comfort her after what had happened to Joshua. "What happened?" said Cozy. "Someone snuffed him." "No!" "True crime," I said. "Honest." "Joshua?" I explained how he had wrecked my car the previous night, then he was found dead that morning. "It looked like suicide," I told her, "but I don't know how anyone has the courage to put a gun in his mouth and actually pull the trigger." "Boston," said Cozy, "getting up in the morning is what takes courage. Shooting yourself in the mouth is just plain stupid." "So who found him?" "The cops." "That's a relief. Did they question you?" "Oh, yes," I said. "San Fuentes was even making noises that I had a good motive to kill Joshua, but I don't think he meant it." "That's way off base," she said. "Sometimes I think the lieutenant has his head up his..." "Cozy!" "Well, what do you want me to say? He's a cop." "I kind of like cops." "Boston, that just proves what a sick little puppy you are." Well, I was willing to bet that Miss Cozy Dinette would change her tune if she met Lieutenant Veto Branco of the Boston Police. "Anyway," I said, "I'm taking some food to the Fleming Lemming so Laura and I can sit and commiserate like two young widows." "If I know you," said Cozy, "you have other motives." "Kind of," I said. "If you want to get on Laura's good side," said Cozy, "take her lobster salad. It's her favorite." I grunted like a cop. "Expensive taste." Cozy winked to emphasize her feminine walliness. "Which is exactly why Joshua never let her have it." "Laura won't have to worry about that anymore," Cozy said. "I wonder if she'll be able to manage on her own. She doesn't seem capable of taking care of herself." I said, "If my instincts about Laura are right, she'll recover from Joshua's death real fast." "Oh, you're hard, Boston. Cold and hard." "Am I?" Cozy made excuses about being late for rehearsal again, and I left the market in a hurry. I ordered a lobster salad for Laura Hope. For myself, I got a large peach-studded frozen yogurt, half of which I devoured on the way to the cash register, the other half on the way to my borrowed bicycle. When I got to the Fleming Lemming, it was locked up. I knocked, and the blinds separated slightly. Between the slats, Laura Hope's face appeared, looking flat and gray. She'd obviously heard the news about her husband. I waved, and she opened the door crack. "I come bearing gifts," I said, holding up the bag with the lobster salad inside. "I want nothing." "Not even lobster salad?" I said. She yielded. "Maybe I ought to eat something," she said. "Why are you doing this? We're not exactly friends." "Partly to apologize for upsetting you the other day, and partly because you could probably use some company right now. I recently lost someone I loved, too." "Apology accepted," she said gruffly, and took the bag inside. She opened the container eagerly, then sniffed at the salad as if to make sure it was safe to eat. "How did you know?" she said. "I was dreaming of lobster for lunch." "Sometimes I'm psychic," I said. Laura poked out a piece of claw meat and popped it into her mouth. She closed her eyes while she chewed it. Only after she swallowed the morsel did she open them again. She looked surprised to see me still standing in front of her. "Did you want something else?" she said. "Or are you content to watch me eat?" "That is not one of my peculiarities," I said, "but I would like to ask you some questions." "Ah," said Laura. "So this is more than an apology." "Yes," I said. She put the salad down and resumed the work she'd been doing when I arrived, packing and protecting her precious signed first editions. She slid each one first into a sealable plastic bag, then placed it into a large plastic crate with a waterproof lid. I watched her a few moments, then said nonchalantly, "Did you know that Joshua was coming after me last night?" "Was he?" said Laura. "First he tried to run me down with that pink car. When he failed at that, he wrecked my Alpha." Laura said, "Did you come here to comfort me, or to accuse my dead husband falsely, when he's not even alive to defend himself?" "Laura, he was involved with Edsel Sham and Nancy Drew and Adolf Doberman. 2 of the 4 people are dead." "Do you think I don't know that?" she said. Then she went back to the salad and picked through it until she found a big chunk of tail meat. She put it in her mouth and chewed until her eyes began to glaze over again. I pressed forward. "Aren't you bothered by his death?" Laura snapped her eyes open. Then with an odd smile she said, "It's a tragedy, isn't it?" "What if it wasn't suicide? You could be in danger yourself." Her eyes gleamed at the discovery of another hunk of tail meat. "I'm not afraid," she said. "Not like you, who thrives on high drama." I said, "What did Joshua know that got him killed?" Laura shook her head slowly. "You know," she said, "I forgot to ask him." Into her mouth went in the lobster flesh. "And now it's too late." She chewed deliberately, swallowed, then said, "I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about his business with those people. And this salad is excellent. I really appreciate it. But talking to you is just too much for my nerves right now." She pushed the salad away, as if she couldn't eat another bite. I said, "The police found bike tracks near the place where Joshua was killed." "Really?" said Laura. "Don't you drive a motor scooter?" "Along with a few thousand other people on Key West." "But you're the dead man's wife." Laura said, "You ask too many questions and you jump to wrong conclusions. And besides, every time I talk to you, something bad happens." "Like what?" "Like what?" she said. "Joshua's dead, that's what." "You can't blame me for that." "Why not? You got him very upset. Maybe the 2 of you arranged to meet last night and things got out of hand." "That's what the police think, too." "So what were you doing out there by the power plant?" Then she added sarcastically, "Feeding the gulls?" "That's exactly what I was doing," I said. "That and thinking about my dead lover." "You're pathetic," said Laura as she pulled the salad back toward her and popped another chunk of lobster into her mouth. I asked her, "Aren't you afraid that whoever killed Joshua will hurt you now?" "It was suicide," she said as she jabbed the fork into the salad and once more shoved the container away from herself. "What if it wasn't?" Laura said, "Aren't you afraid? Perhaps you and I should be afraid together, or maybe of each other." Then Laura smiled blissfully. The lobster salad must have activated her endorphins. Either that or she was on heavy-duty tranquilizers to cope with her husband's murder. She spoke dreamily. "All I know is Josh was dead. Now if only you'd leave town, things might really get better again." Reduced to playing the role of chief obstacle to true world peace, and in her healing, I left the Flipping Lemming and headed to the police station to see Jerry Takir. I knew she would have stopped painting because the sky had turned an awful brownish shade of blue, like a bad bruise. It was the first sign that foul weather might actually lie ahead. As I pedaled to the police station, I saw Cozy Dinette's big white convertible pulling out from the back lot where the cruisers were parked, as she went the other way and didn't see me. Inside the station, Lieutenant Sanfuentes told me he had called Lieutenant Branco again. "I wanted to check up on you one more time, just to make sure." "Sure what?" "That I can still trust you." "What's the verdict this time?" I said. "You're still clean." "That's good." "Yeah," said Sanfuentes. "But if you ever thought about getting serious about this business, you better get used to people checking up on you. And get ready to come out looking bad a lot, too. Because when you're really cooking on a case, you smell kind of bad just before you crack it." I sniffed at the underarms of my shirt. "I must be close then," I said. But I knew the olfactory spasms were more likely due to all the pedaling around I'd done on the bike that day. I wasn't any closer to a solution than when I'd found Augusta Willits with that alarm clock jammed down her throat 5 days ago. I told Sanfuentes everything I'd seen and heard since our grisly rendezvous that morning over Joshua's body. Then I told him I saw Cozy Dinette pulling out of the station back lot on my way to the station. Was she in here? I said. One of the cop's eyes twitched nervously. Only once. Not that I know of, he said. Maybe she was turning around. I said, like this is the only driveway on Semington Street. Look, said Sanfuentes, Miss Dinette's situation is kind of delicate as regards, the police. What's that? I said. She smokes too much. Lots of people smoke, I said. Yeah, and lots of people buy cigarettes too. Oh, I said, you mean she smokes? Sanfuentes looked at me. Isn't that what I said? So, is that such a big deal? Here, he said, it's a big deal when you hold clearance sales on your overstock. Miss Dinette runs a regular cottage industry. But you look the other way, Sanfuentes nodded. Sometimes that's the best solution. Don't make a big deal over it, okay? Sure, I said. What's important between you and me right now, said the cop, is I want to get this guy before we have another body on our hands. Do you want me to help again? Did I say otherwise? You officially stopped me the other day, the cop set his jaw firmly. Did I? I don't recall that. When are you going to let Jerry Tekir go? How many times have I told you why I'm keeping Miss Tekir here? Your memory's getting a little dull, Stan. So I'm also going to remind you not to go yapping about any of this, okay? I don't want people to start thinking I'm some kind of patron of the arts, you know? Certainly not. I'm a cop. Does Jerry know why you're keeping her here? I think she understands whose side I'm on without me saying so many words. You can trust me, Lieutenant Jerry Tekir is still your prime suspect in the death of Adolf Doberman. Now you're talking straight, said Sanfuentes, which was a genetic impossibility. I noticed Jerry's painting propped up on the floor behind the lieutenant's desk, and I asked him if I could take it down to her cell for a bit. You got an idea, he said. Something might be hiding in that painting that we can't see. Sanfuentes chuckled cynically. You mean like a microdot with secret information hidden somewhere? I mean the painting itself. Maybe there's a message on that canvas that meant so much to Adolf Doberman that he had to steal it from the crow's nest. He even killed Augusta Willits to do it. Sounds far-fetched to me, said the cop. I think that painting is a painting, that's all. Jerry may know something more. There's nothing to lose, Lieutenant. I guess there's no problem, said the cop. I took the framed canvas downstairs to Jerry's cell. She was just putting her paints away when I arrived. Oh, good, she said enthusiastically. A visitor from the real world. The sky just turned brown, and I can't paint anymore. I said I'd figured as much, then told her about the impending hurricane. Jerry hadn't heard a word about it. I guess Lieutenant Sanfuentes really didn't believe in false alarms. Jerry noticed dinner of uncertainty in my arms. What are you doing with that? She said. I thought we'd have a little art appreciation class. I set up the painting on her easel. Jerry looked distressed. If I had known all the trouble that painting was going to cause, I would never have done it. Don't say that, I said. You can't be a real artiste and worry about people's reactions to your work. Real schmeal, she said. How would Norman Rockwell have felt if one of his magazine covers drove someone to murder? Do you think he was a real artist? What do I know, said Jerry. Once I'm out of here, I'm going radically commercial. Fine, I said. But for now, let's focus on the work at hand. Why has this painting caused such a stir? It seems innocent enough. It's colorful, and the characters and the situations are provocative, but why did Adolf steal it? Jerry said, I don't know. It's not even my best painting. I don't understand why anyone would want it badly enough to kill for it. Maybe because of who's in it. Who? I said. This is a real event that I painted. Is it? I said. Is that important? Jerry, it could hold the key to everything that's happened in the last 5 days. A painting. When did you paint it? I finished it about a month ago, but the actual event took place long before that. And Adolf Doberman wanted to buy it right after you finished it. No, said Jerry. No one knew I'd painted it. Just like all the stuff I do, but Adolf saw it hanging in the crow's nest, and that's when he got all fired up over it. Yet you didn't sell it to him, Jerry said. For $50? Cheap bastard. I know, said Jerry. But if this painting incriminated him, wouldn't he have bought it no matter what price I told him? I suppose you're right, I said. In my hurry to find a clue, I'd missed that myself. Maybe San Fuentes was right. Maybe it was only a painting. Still, I asked Jerry to tell me who was in it. There's Ken Kimball, she said, and she pointed to a dark-haired young man with a milky complexion in the foreground. Very flattering, I said. Not really, said Jerry. Look beyond the youth. I did. Then I gasped. The face, though superficially attractive, had the mesmerizing stare of a bloodthirsty predator. Wow, I said. Who else is in there? And Jerry replied, everyone who was there at the restaurant that night. She pointed to each character on the canvas as she named their real-life counterparts. And as usual in her paintings, no one resembled who they really were. Edsel Sham was portrayed as a swarthy Middle Easterner with short gray hair and a shifty eye that confronted the observer directly. Joshua 18 was an expressionless chocolate-colored giant at the bullseye's center of the portrait, while Laura Hope was a very tan, blonde man at his side. Apparently, Jerry knew the truth about Lars becoming Laura, even if no one had told her the facts. At another table in the background, she painted the Countess Radolinska, also chocolate-colored and of indeterminate sex. Alongside her was Cozy Dinette, whose image resembled a very masculine crossdresser. Cozy would not have approved. Who's this in the foreground? I said, with the face turned away. I don't know, said Jerry. She sounded a little defensive. Whoever it is was facing away from me that night. Maybe it's you. I wasn't at the table, she said. What about the body? Was it big or slender? And Jerry said, I don't remember. Was it Adolf? He didn't arrive in town until after Peter died. How about Nancy Drew? And Jerry said, I don't recall her being there. She'd have good reason, being Peter's attorney. Maybe, said Jerry. But I don't think so. She was sounding a bit irritated. What about Ross? You're a hustler, said Jerry. Peter would never be seen in public with someone like him. Well, is it a man or a woman at least? Jerry shrugged. That never matters in my paintings. What about in your mind? It doesn't matter there either. There was one more character on the canvas, a waiter, standing and dominating the entire picture as he took everyone's order. I asked Jerry to identify him. That's Peter Willits, she said. But he was already dead. No, he wasn't, said Jerry. I told you, I did the painting a month ago. But the actual event happened when he was still alive. But why did you make him subservient? He's not subservient, said Jerry. Look where he is. He's so big he doesn't even fit on the canvas. But he's waiting on them. No, said Jerry. They're waiting on him. They're waiting for him to die. He invited them all out to dinner that night to discuss his estate. Just like that. Come to dinner? I'm doing my will? And Jerry nodded. Peter knew he was going to die, and he was a very picky person. He wanted everything in perfect order after his death. Morbidly compulsive. Practical, countered Jerry. He wanted things to go smoothly. For all the good it did him, I said. He forgot to invite dear Mama Augusta to dinner. And Jerry said, I think that was intentional. And look how it all turned out. And Jerry said, that's why the title works. Dinner of Uncertainty. And no one at that table knew what was going to happen, even though it was all being planned out to the letter. I said, how did you know all this? I mean, about the dinner. Did they pose for you? I was sitting nearby, but you weren't at the table. I already told you no. Jerry, I said, if Peter arranged that dinner for all the people he was naming in his will, why didn't he include you? You told me he was leaving you the Echo Me gallery. Jerry looked down. Then she said quietly, I lied. He did invite me, but he didn't want any of them to know. See, he wanted me to paint them all. He wanted to commemorate the event of making his will. So he commissioned Dinner of Uncertainty. Yes. And they never guessed what was happening. Jerry laughed. They knew I was sketching them, and they loved the attention. I think most people are vain, but no one knew that Peter wanted me there. So the question remained, why did someone want that painting so badly? By the way, I said, why does everyone have only 3 fingers? Where? Said Jerry. Look, I said and pointed. Jerry squinted. Laura Hope has 4. Perhaps that was Jerry's unconscious compensation for Laura's loss of another, more critical appendage. I said, but no one else does. Jerry shrugged again. I never noticed it until now. It's not a criticism, I said. I don't care if it is, she replied. I thanked her for her help, then took the painting back upstairs to Lieutenant Sanfuente's office. He'd already gone home for the day since it was early evening. The hour reminded me that I'd showered only once that day, so I pedaled back to the Jared Bellamy house, thinking about Jerry Takir's painting, but could make no sense of anything I'd learned about it from her explanation. Was it, after all, only a feast of neuroptical stimulation? Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.